Welcome to Believe in God's Love from Divine Providence by Emanuel Swedenborg, vegetarian, part 1 of 2, on Words of Wisdom. In the 18th century, a great Swedish scientist and inventor, at the height of his career, began to see visions of heaven, spirits, saints, and angels. He saw Lord Jesus come to open his inner eye, which allowed him to travel in the celestial sphere and talk with different spiritual beings. This mystical experience transformed the scientist into an enlightened spiritual leader with a new understanding of Christianity. His name is Emanuel Swedenborg. From 1744 onwards, Emanuel Swedenborg spent over a decade of his life writing down what he saw in his spiritual voyages in more than 24 books. His visions of heaven and the afterlife, his realization that God is love, and his discovery of the Holy Bible's deeper meanings are just some of the revolutionary topics he bravely documented. The life and works of this remarkable spiritual world explorer inspire people to this day. Today, it is an honor to present selections from Divine Providence, where Emanuel Swedenborg emphasizes the importance of spiritual love and goodness. The Lord's Governance. If the good that love does is not united to the truth that wisdom perceives, it is not really good, but it may seem to be. And if the truth that wisdom perceives is not united to the good that love does, it is not really true, but it may seem to be. The truth of the matter is that nothing good occurs that is really good unless it is united to something true that is appropriate to it, and nothing true occurs that is really true unless it is united to something good that is appropriate to it. Still, there is such a thing as something good separated from what is true, and something true separated from what is good. This happens with hypocrites and flatterers, with all kinds of evil people, and with people who are involved in good on the earthly level, but not at all on the spiritual level. All of these people can do things that are good for church, country, community, and fellow citizens, for the poor and needy, and for widows and orphans. They can understand truths too, and can think about them discerningly and talk about them and teach them. However, those good and true characteristics are not particularly deep, so they are not essentially good and true for the people who display them. They are outwardly good and true and therefore are only facades. They exist solely for the sake of themselves and the world and not for the sake of goodness itself and truth itself, which means that they are not derived from what is good and true. They come simply from the mouth and the body then, and not from the heart. We might compare them to gold or silver that has been overlaid on slag, rotten wood, or dung, and we might compare the utter truths to our breath, which dissipates, or to a will-o-wisp that vanishes. Outwardly they may still seem genuine. While these truths have one guise for the people themselves, however, they can look very different to people who hear and accept them without knowing their source. The way we are affected outwardly depends on what lies within us. Some truth enters the hearing of others, and no matter whose mouth it has come from, the way the other minds grasp it depends on their own state and quality. It is much the same for people who, by reason of their heredity, are involved in something that is good on the earthly level, but not in something that is spiritually good. What lies within anything good and anything true is spiritual, and this banishes whatever is false and evil. Still, what is solely earthly sides with what is evil and false, and siding with evil is not in harmony with doing good. The reason that goodness can be separated from truth and truth from goodness, and that they still seem good and true even when separated, is that we have an ability to act, called freedom, and an ability to discern, called rationality. It is by the misuse of these abilities that we can seem different outwardly than we are inward, so that an evil individual can do what is good and say what is true, and so that a devil can pretend to be an angel of light. The origin of evil is in the abuse of the abilities proper to us, called rationality and freedom. These two abilities exist in both evil and good individuals. If love is not married to wisdom, or if goodness is not married to truth, it cannot accomplish anything. Love or volition does not do anything without wisdom or discernment. Love or volition marries wisdom or discernment to itself and arranges things so that wisdom or discernment marries it willingly. Because of the power given it by love, wisdom or discernment can be raised up, can accept things in heaven's light, and can grasp them. Love can be raised up in the same way and can grasp things in heaven's warmth provided it loves its spouse, wisdom to that degree. Otherwise, love pulls wisdom or discernment back from its height so that they act in unison. If they are raised up together, love is cleansed in our discernment. Love that has been cleansed by wisdom in our discernment becomes spiritual and heavenly, and love that has been polluted in our discernment becomes limited to our senses and our bodies. The Lord does not let anything remain divided. This means that things must be focused either on what is both good and true, or on what is both evil and false. The first of the goals toward which the Lord's divine providence works is that we should be engaged in what is good and what is true together. That is our good and our love, and that is our truth and our wisdom, because that is what makes us human and images of the Lord. However, while we are living in this world, we can be engaged simultaneously in what is good and what is false, or in what is evil and what is true, even in what is at once evil and good, and therefore double, and since this division destroys that image and therefore our very humanity, the Lord's divine providence is trying to get rid of this division in everything it does. For more information on Emanuel Swedenborg, please visit swedenborg.com.